that 2 years has passed and we haven't been able to share with you a lot of the things that have happened in those 2 years. So the first part of our presentation is about the school and what has been going on, where we are, what we've been doing. But what is important as well, and what we found from parents, is that we want you to feel that you are part of the journey. So your child might be in reception or nursery too, but their journey will end in grade 12. And they need to see that journey. You need to see the journey and understand how we are working to get there. So as we always start, we start with what we believe in, and that's inspiring students to create and shape the world of tomorrow. That is very important, and that starts with the Little Leagues. For those of you that are new to the school, welcome. I hope your journey with us is as exciting as it has been for everybody else, and you will then learn a few more things about us in the school. What we're going to do in this presentation is look at, first of all, what we've done, because 2 years have passed. What we're doing now, our future plans, and then academic specific information for your year groups, for your children. And then you can actually see how they fit in. So, I think it's important, of course, to celebrate success. What we realize is that we always tend to focus as people on how do we improve, but sometimes we also need to celebrate the good things. For an international school overseas, you have to hit 80 standards. We hit all of them, but what was really good was that there was nothing that was lacking. There was nothing that was satisfactory. It was good with many elements of outstanding. So we know where our path is going, and this is where we will continue moving. What is important for you, many of you may know this already, but it is important that you see it. Some of the outstanding areas are in social, moral, spiritual, and cultural. This one is a really difficult one to hit with the little ones, with anybody, because you don't teach it. It's something that they have to feel when they come into the school. They have to see it with the children, they have to see it with the teachers, they have to see it in the school. And that is very important for us to get an outstanding second time. So that 6 years worth of outstandings, I think, is an achievement for us as a school. What they mentioned again, second time around, is the rapid acquisition of the children getting English. So they come into the school with limited amounts of English. We're an international school. And they acknowledged again how quickly our children achieve a standard of English that makes them confident learners in the British system. And then another thing that stood out, and this is why it's there and I thought it was important for you, is that the kindergarten was actually highlighted as an outstanding area because of the amount of work that's put in and the individual approach that is used with the children. I'm going to hand you over to Ms. Nomi. We're going to start with grade 12.
So, as well as a BSO inspection, we also undertook in the same time the IB evaluation. So this is the program that we offer in the last 2 years of the school. And the evaluation process happens every 5 years. So we completed our first 5-year cycle, and then we were asked to complete an evaluation process to ensure that we were providing the education that the IB, as an international body with such high esteem, wanted to make sure that we were offering a good program. Now, the things that really stand out in this report, it's an 18-month process, but the things that stand out, even in grade 12, is that we offer safe, healthy and nurturing environment. And that is something that we instill all the way through our school. It's not something that we only care about when they're younger, but as the children grow, they need to ensure that they have their emotional needs met and looked after. But as well as that, the curriculum is rigorous. So the IB also said, you deliver our curriculum really, really well, even though it's only been 5 years of offering it. You've ensured that the standard has been met. They also went on to say that the school focuses on international mindedness. Now, we are very proud that we have so many different countries represented in our cohorts, because what does this do to our students and our children? It means that they're exposed to so many different worlds even before they've started school. And this builds tolerance and understanding, which in the 21st century is an essential skill for being successful. They also mentioned that we ensure that school is full of authentic experiences, and this is something that we start in kindergarten. It's not just about learning from books, it's about using our environment to make sure that children really learn from the world around them. It may not concern you so much now what IB scores were achieved, but the maximum score is 45 points. And we had a student score 43 points out of 45. As well as that, he did an additional subject, so he did 8 rather than 7, which was like an outstanding result. But out of the cohort, we had so many students above 40, which is really puts them in an opportunity to go anywhere in the world to any university that they want. So rest assured, when your children are there, they will be well prepared to go wherever you want them to go. And as some of you are reception parents, some are nursery, but it's still important to see that where the stages grow one on top of the other. So now you're in the EYFS, which is kindergarten, but some will now start next year in Cambridge Primary. And Cambridge Primary is up until grade 6, and then they go into Cambridge Secondary and obviously upper secondary, and there is where the IB fits for the last 2 years.
I think it is important to understand as well is that the children write their first sort of serious exam in grade 2, and then the next one, which is the international exam, is grade 6, and those are the subjects that they are then examined in, and that's the international exam. So that's what we work toward from an academic point of view. I get to do the IGCSE, so we bring it down to grade 10. And again, our students have to take 5 subjects, a minimum of 5 subjects. They can take more if they wish, but for the IGCSE or the GCSE in England, you have to do 5 subjects. Our students have a range of subjects, so when your children get to that stage, they will have a choice. They have that ability to choose what they are good at if we are able to offer it. So we try as much as possible to offer as many subjects as possible. So this may not seem important now, but as your children develop their love of learning, their love of subjects, they can then work that towards what's going to come in the future. We have had really good results, especially when it comes to A stars, A's and B's. We did have one student who took 7 IGCSEs, which is quite unheard of. People don't like doing it. She got 7 A stars. We then moved down to the checkpoints, grade 8. Again, it's the international exam. It's set against the international Cambridge standard. Why is this important to you as parents? Because if you move to another country, or you move to another school that has Cambridge as the system, they will understand it. It is readable anywhere in the world. And this is what makes it a good standard of education, because many of you may move around as parents with businesses, sending places. You may decide to move to another country. This offers you the opportunity of moving into a school, and your child will be able to fit in because the standard is the same. Those are our percentages above the international average of 3. So we do well. For those that don't necessarily achieve it, part of what we do is making sure that we focus on those children and help them achieve those goals. Checkpoint 6, we did even better than our checkpoint 8. International averages are below the circles, and we were well above those international averages. That's taking every school in the world that writes the exams into account. So we don't want to say that we're focused on academics, but even though it is something that we work on, and we work on SMSC and all those other things, our children still achieve because they enjoy what they do. And this is where Miss Naomi takes over. Is it? No, it's not. It's not. It's me still. Right, so what are we doing now, right? And then we're going to look at our future plans. And now Miss Naomi takes over.
Okay, it was one slide, Matthew. We'll let you off that one. So I've already mentioned in the IB report that they mention our international mindedness is developed. Having such a demographic helps that. It makes it much easier for it. But we don't just settle with having lots of international kids. That makes us develop international mindedness. We make sure that we celebrate that international mindedness. So we celebrated in 1 month, 8th of March, Martinitzes. Then we had other celebrations from different nationalities. And I encourage all parents, if you are from different countries or you have interest in different things, share it with your class teacher and let us also celebrate those different things. We've celebrated Hanukkah in the past, Christmas obviously, Halloween, all these different things are all part of what makes children more open-minded. So it doesn't always come easy, and young children, they express themselves very freely and honestly about differences, but our teachers work very closely with children to encourage them to develop the skills that they need to work with other people. So guaranteed in the first month there will be lots of little arguments between kids because you're from there and I heard that country did this, because they're young and innocent. But our teachers and also our professional team, who Mr. Mackle will mention about our pastoral team, they work together so that children begin to develop an understanding. So the only way that they can do that is if they feel confident and if they feel safe. And we do that in a number of ways, that they feel physically safe in their classroom. We also make sure that they are emotionally supported through, very much in kindergarten is the class teacher. They become second mum or second dad, and often are called mummy by mistake, and we get called miss at home, but okay, it's good. But we also have a special educational needs support worker who comes and visits the kindergarten frequently, and also a counsellor. So if there is something going on at home, tell your class teacher, and they can help them put in that extra support so that they build that self-esteem that's so important.
Right. This is the pastoral care bit, which is so important and part of what SMSC is. You cannot, as a school, just offer education anymore. The world that children come from is a complex world. They deal with things that we may not have dealt with as their age. They are up against a lot of challenges. So as a school, it is our responsibility to make sure that we have their pastoral care and behaviour at our root. This is not necessarily in the sense of punishments and things like that. What we're looking at is to get in them the idea of what is right, what is wrong, and there are consequences, as there would be in life. You do that at home, we need to mirror that at school as well. But what pastoral care is about is that little bit extra, where the child is having a bad day, or maybe something's happening, and they need that little bit of somebody to talk to who's not mummy or daddy, not the teacher, so we have somebody else who can come in and they can talk with them, and we can work out how to help the child better. Because as Ms. Nomi said, if the child is happy, if your child is happy, they will want to be at school, they will want to learn, they will want to be with their children. And that is really important, that we link those things together, and that by the time they leave reception and go into grade 1, into the first of their primary, they are well developed. They understand what is right, what is wrong, what the rules are, but also, more importantly, who to go to if they need to speak to someone. That's very important, even at their age. They have complex lives that we don't know anything about sometimes, and it's important that we give them the opportunity to share that. So what do we do? In a British school, one of the things that we have to do is every single teacher has to be safeguarded trained. Meaning they are there to not only keep the child safe during the day, but to look out for things that they may see. They're not trained as psychologists or something in that field, but they are expected to know that when that child doesn't seem to be behaving in the right way normally, maybe there's an issue. And they are then to bring that to us. Obviously your child is safe while they're in school. We have fire drills, we have to SMSC throughout the school. And before any school trip is done, we do a risk assessment. So you are rest assured that before we go on a trip, I have to see a risk assessment. I am the lead safeguarding person for the school, so I have to see whether that trip is a safe trip or not. So before they go out, that already gets done. And then the last bit we are no longer doing, obviously, because we're moving out of that situation. We've spoken about our children, but what we've also started looking at now is what do we do about our teachers? Because teachers need to develop as much as children need to develop. We face a situation where we want our teachers to be the best. We don't necessarily have a huge amount of international teachers coming to Bulgaria, so what we've done is we've looked at what our teachers do well. And those are the things we look at from our teachers. However, the next thing that we need to look at is how do we upskill our teachers to make sure that the teachers who are teaching the system and the curriculum know it properly. So we are a Cambridge Development Centre, so we are able to offer training to teachers not only at our school but in the schools, where they then have to go through quite a process. It takes about a year, where they work through certificates and diplomas to be accredited by Cambridge as a Cambridge teacher. And part of that is right to the basics, how to teach a lesson. then right up to how to engage children, how to motivate them, how to get them excited about learning. They have to go through that process. All our teachers sign up for it voluntarily, and I lead the program. I have never had so many people sign up for the program as this one. We've already had our first cohort go through with 4 distinctions and 3 passes. Our next cohort, I'm busy with them at the moment, and the third cohort of teachers starts next month. So we have a great deal of teachers who are eager to take on this qualification and make sure that they are qualified by Cambridge to teach. That gives you that extra sense of quality assurance as well. The curriculum is like the tree. It starts at the bottom, builds up. The curriculum does not stay the same. And Ms. Nomi will speak about this later when it rolls around your children. But what is happening at this moment in time and last year was that most of the curriculums taught are starting to change. Obviously, every 5 years or so, they update the curriculum. We are in that process at the moment, and that's why sometimes you will see, and Ms. Nomi will mention it, the report looks a little bit different, and we will explain why that is like that. And that is purely because these programs have been updated, they have been changed, and we have to adapt to that. It doesn't mean teaching will change, but we have to hit higher standards, we have to hit higher expectations, and that's for us to then build into the curriculum. Our beliefs, this is very important. I think this is very important for us to stop at this moment. We're talking academics, but to look at the things that we believe in. Ms. Nomi said, the days of teaching children like a sausage factory are over, right? Every child is unique. Every child has to be treated as a unique person and a being. Is that always possible? Most times, yes. It means adapting the curriculum. We need to help that child get to their potential. They may not know what they want to do now, but they have goals, and we need to feed those goals. We need to say to them, everything's possible. How do we do it? We need to give them the tools. Every child has a talent. Many of you who've been with us for a long time, you'll see this slide every time because we eat it, we think it, we breathe it, we sleep it, we do everything. This is it. Children have talents. We need to get those out. They don't have to be academic talents. This is important for us, and this is what we are working on. And one of our goals as a school is to build that triangle, that cooperation between parents. And you have, in the last 2 years, we've not had enough time to say to you how much we appreciate the support you've given us through very difficult times with the children, especially with the little ones. They don't understand certain situations. So we do take the time now to say we appreciate what you have done in the last 2 years because it has helped us. We have been successful. And if there have been any issues, we've been able to address those issues. For us, that's the important thing and our future goal. That's where we're working towards, is how do we encourage more people to get involved in that. And this is where the change comes in. This is why curriculums are changing, why your children need even more challenge, and they work towards that. Everything is now skills-based. When I finished university, you just needed your degree and you went into a job and that was fine. Nowadays, your degree does not mean you necessarily do that job. You have to be adaptable, you have to be creative, you have to think outside the box. You have to have a skill-based situation. That does not start in grade 12, it's too late then. It's too late then. We have to build those skills into the children now. You will, some of you, be familiar with habits of mind. It's part of what we do at our school, and it's part of teaching children how to think outside of the box, how to think creatively, strategically, and to be children who persevere. That's the important thing, is not to give up. You know, when we're young, sometimes when we're old, like me, it's like I've had enough, I'm moving on. But we need to persevere, and this is what we need to teach to the children, that life is not always going to be an easy journey. What are the tools you have to make it a successful journey? Not necessarily an easy journey, a successful journey. And creativity, very important. This is where I give over to Ms. Nomi again.
You can have a breath. So how do we do all of this, and how do we know that this is happening in our school? Because we rely on a team of people. There's no I in team, right? We teach that to the students, and we believe that. We have a team of very dedicated teachers who spend their holidays with Mr. Matthew doing Cambridge Professional Development courses, who choose to do that. They are dedicated because they believe in education. They believe in innovation. We are a school that is not standing still. Every year it amazes me when we put presentations together that how much we have to select and leave out because we are doing so much to be innovative. They are creative. You only have to see classrooms that they are beautifully presented but filled with creative ideas, and they are dedicated. They're here after school, they write emails at night, they plan their lessons to make sure that the day runs smoothly. And they're supported through that, right? We don't want to say that they have to have the right people around them to make sure that they can succeed. And we do that through a new structure this year. And that structure is a vertical structure where we have team leaders in subject areas, and that is to ensure that when your child goes from kindergarten to grade 1 to grade 2 in maths, there isn't any change in approach. We know that routine and consistency is essential. We also do have leaders in kindergarten and in the IB programme because they are programs and require some cohesion there. And we have an academic board who then oversee all the academics to ensure, again, consistency between maths, English, science, technology, so that approach is the same and students, again, feel secure in what they're learning. This also means that we can take part in different competitions. Competitions develop many skills in students about persistence and determination and not giving up. Some of these competitions are suitable in kindergarten, but they're names that you will start to see, especially as you go into grade 1 and grade 2. They're offered by a range of different bodies. And all these things build, again, a CV for students when they're in grade 12, that they have taken part in. They've met other people from different countries. They know what it is to be under time pressure or to deal with losing sometimes, which is something that most children have to learn at some point during school life, but also the feeling of succeeding and getting that certificate for winning or participation. One competition we take part in every year, it has several rounds. One starts in Sofia. We send students from grade 7 up, and it's in creative writing and public speaking and debating. All language things, but also things that require critical thinking. Every year we do very well, and this year the global round is actually here in Sofia, and we will have children taking part in it, which is very exciting. HIPPO is another language competition. Obviously we are proud of our language acquisition in English that Mr. Matthew mentioned at the beginning. And sometimes it's nice that kids can get an extra certificate for that. Not only did they attend a British school, but they have taken part in the HIPPO competition against thousands of people. And we did have a student who came second in the world, which was an unimaginable achievement, Denise, and she went all the way to Italy. She had that amazing experience of really competing in a world-level competition. Just this week gone, we had the spelling bee, which was online. This is the new, we are resilient and we find ways of doing it. A spelling bee online with other schools in the Balkans. Again, we had winners, runners-up, and it was incredible that the children very quickly adapted and did a spelling bee in front of the computer against children all over Europe. COBIS, the Council of British International Schools, of which we are a member, have been a member for a number of years, are a fantastic way, again, of us engaging with an international community and allowing our children to, again, benchmark themselves against other international students. They're allowed to compete against students all over the world. And these are some of the competitions, again, poetry, maths, but also art features there. And one that we actually came as a runner-up was the Sustainable Goals competition, and this was again done in high school. They created composting in the school, and then they went down into grade 1 and they used the compost and they made a garden, and they taught the kids in grade 1 and grade 2 about making compost and being environmentally aware. And these kind of projects they get recognition for that, for helping their community, and this was part of why they came second overall out of all that entered.
This leads us on to a lot of these competitions being fought with some of the older students. There are two reasons for that. Sometimes they're not necessarily competitions for the very young ones. We will create our own competitions. However, by creating in them the ability to do these things so early on in the year groups that your children are in, we can then enter these kind of competitions. The latest one that we're in, and we're at the process of finishing it, is the Erasmus project called the School Plus Project. This was done with the European Union, so this gives that quality assurance to our students that they are actually able to compete anywhere in the world. We worked in collaboration with two schools, one in Spain, which was a private school, and one in Italy, which is a government school. So it gives us that opportunity of seeing how different schools work in different environments. Now again, this might not necessarily happen for children in nursery 2 or reception. However, by the time they get to this level, they will have no problem taking part in these competitions. Those were the goals, and you can see that that's exactly what fits in with what we do as a school. And what we did was that we actually, the project was about the school of the future. So these children were looking at the things that needed to be in place for a school of the future. They can only do those kind of things if they can think and use those techniques which we're already using.
So, how do we ensure, again, that consistency, but also love of learning in the school? And one way that we do that is through school trips, which unfortunately for 2 years we had to sort of put on a little bit of a back burner. But what we did instead was get people to come to the school and offer things like puppet shows, or guest speakers, or use the experts within our school, which leads on to the next one, where we developed the experimental sciences in kindergarten. I don't know how many of you have seen, but we had our science department come and offer a project about space. Just a few weeks ago they planted grass heads, I think they're called. So these kind of things are about making learning real. And when we talk about the IEYC, which your children are studying, and also about the early learning goals, which are the benchmarks for your children, you'll see that all these things that might just seem like fun are actually making learning effortless. They are learning so much when they see about space and they make it, or when they see an experiment being performed in front of them. Lego bricks, they start in reception. It's not just like we play Lego at home, but they are learning how to be critical and creative thinkers. And Lego education is something that we continue through the school and then eventually goes into robotics. And you can see these are some of the things that they also make collaboratively. They work together as a team to make something. So there are many interpersonal skills that they're developing through these kind of things like school trips and Lego bricks and extracurricular.
Right, we move now on to the future plans. We've gone from the past, we're in the present, we're going on to the future. And I think this is very important because you need to know where we are going as a school and why it's important that we share these goals with you. I think many of you may be aware that we're going to start up the coffee mornings again, but we're going to do it in a little bit of a different way. And the idea behind this is to get an expert in to talk about things and somebody from the school so that we can actually expand on the ideas that we speak about as a community, as parents and as the school. What we're also going to be doing is the communication is going to be through the e-school to sort of streamline things. There will be the newsletter which people like, and also the messaging system will be sort of upgraded so that you get all the important information through the e-school platform. So that we are making it more streamlined, listening to the parents and hearing what they would prefer as a form of communication. So this will be in the plan. What we're also doing is the streaming of classes. So it will now be a case of the children stay with the teacher and it's the differentiation within the classroom that's important. I would like to invite Mrs. Nenova up because this is an important part for this slide, is part of where we go. We're a school that constantly grows. And this is our newest endeavour, which I would just like Mrs. Nenova to talk about.
This is our plan for our future building, who will be built in Ekaterina Nenceva Street in our old site. We plan to start in July, the demolishing everything, and to start building this beautiful building. This is the project. The project is ongoing. Now, when we have the final project and we receive permission for build, we will start building the building. The idea is in 2 years time, 2024, eventually September, to start from first to 12th grade in this building.
Right, just some information before we get on to your children's year group. Obviously, re-enrollment for next year, the academic year 2022-23, confirmation by April 30th, and payment, first payment by the 31st of May, and there is the discount. Mr. Petcock, Mr. Costa Petcock is the person to speak to about that. Transport, as you know, is arranged, so if you do need transport, please speak to Mr. Petcock. He is the person that will be able to arrange that. And then we now look at what your children are looking at. Right, you have the picture of the school, and now we go over to this number.
So most of you are aware, I hope, that your children